All right. Welcome to the Boston Office 365 user group. Wow, there's a lot of people here. Awesome. We got a lot of people online too. So welcome to all of you online. Just so everybody knows, this meeting is being recorded. So just be aware of that if you have any questions that you want to ask.
Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. Just throwing that out there.
It's a possibility.
Yep.
And after this session, the recording will be made available on our YouTube channel. So that's a thing that we do now. It's pretty cool. So welcome. Quick show of hands. How many people are here for the first time? Never been a member of the group? Okay.
So here to the Boston Office 365 user group, not here at the garage.
Yeah.
New to the user group. Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
All right. Cool.
Were you guys part of the SharePoint group? Yeah. Were you guys part of the SharePoint user group beforehand?
Yeah.
Ah.
Okay. So if you didn't hear, we merged the two user groups in together. So you're all part of us now. Get ready for this family.
That's right. All right. So again, welcome. There we go. Here are the organizers of the group, right? I'm back there. That's cool. We've got Dimitri, who is attending online today. Myself, I'm Mike Dixon. Mr. David Lozzi, who is also going to be our presenter for today, so he's pulling double duty. And Mr. Jeff Farosky, right there in the middle of the group. So you can send all of your complaints to him. You know. So last month we did our traditional holiday experts panel. Had a lively, nearly religious debate on folders versus metadata, because that topic will just never die. But we had a lot of fun with it, so it was good. That was recorded. It has not been posted yet. There will have been some issues with that particular recording. What's that? There was no winner for that debate. It just kind of went on. So, all right. So now for some updates. The following updates have been announced since our last meeting. For those of you that are not aware, Office 365 gets around 200-ish updates per month. So this
read them all. Cherry pick the ones for you all.
That's right. So, but this is by no means all of them that are happening, but a few of the fun ones. So there are a lot of news around delivering the SharePoint modern experiences. They're basically starting to cut off some of the access to the classic stuff. So for example, there's no longer a possibility to restrict the entire organization to classic only, and that's going to be rolled out starting April 1st. So maybe that's just an April Fool's gag. Who knows? Might not happen. We don't know. So all of the more granular switches are still going to exist, so you can do it there. They're only deprecating the tenant-wide switch. So the SharePoint migration tool has received a bunch of new improvements. It's got a new UI. It's got the ability to start a new migration without having to restart the tool. Does anybody use the SharePoint migration tool by Microsoft? Just me? All right. It's actually really good. It's really useful. I've done it for batch-based jobs. It got me out of a jam after I used another third-party tool that failed horribly. And then I defaulted to the Microsoft tool, and I've loved it. It was very, very useful. So Microsoft Stream is now publicly available on iOS platforms. So we now have a dedicated app for iOS just for Stream. All right. And one of the things that's really nice about how Microsoft has done a lot of these mobile apps is they're really good at integrating with each other. So if you open, say, a SharePoint site, and that SharePoint site has a link into a Stream platform, it should automatically transition to the Stream app if the Stream app is installed on that same device. I run into that all the time with Teams and Planner.
The question as to what Stream is, we'll cover that in a few minutes.
That's a downstream topic.
The downstream topic, if you are.
Speaking of Planner, Planner is now available for all US government customers. So for GCC, GCC High, and DoD tenants. Oh, I'm sorry, no, DoD is coming soon. But for GCC and GCC High, they're available now.
Any government tenants here? Bill?
Yep, Bill's still here.
Bill?
So one time someone mentioned about how they need deprecation. It sounds like that's not what it is.
I don't know who said that, but
That was Taco. That was Taco, the dog from Trello, saying planners are getting deprecated.
yeah, no. I have heard no such rumors.
No.
And we're now getting more insights. The My Analytics has some new features that are now incorporating Skype for Business analytics. So we have things like the calls and chats, and also response time, which is a pretty interesting little piece of information, how quickly people get back to you when you IM them on average. So, how many people here are utilizing My Analytics?
My Analytics?
E5. Any E5 users? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
I will not be talking about that later.
Okay.
So much stuff in there.
That's fine. We forgive you.
But nobody has E5.
Yeah, I should say. Good call.
Good purpose.
All right. So that's it for updates. Anybody else know of any or bump into any big updates that they saw? No? All right. I've got one other real quick one. I noticed when doing I was doing an audit for a new client that I brought on board, and I noticed that they were doing a lot of OneDrive stuff. And in the OneDrive admin panel, I don't know when this was here, but it wasn't there last time I looked at the OneDrive admin panel. There's now the ability to set a retention date for how long data is retained in OneDrive after the account is deleted. And that number defaults to 3,650 days, which is 10 years. Which, yeah, that's what I was telling people. So that's why I thought that was a really big thing, because I was always, that was my big thing in explaining the difference between SharePoint and OneDrive. Once a user leaves, their OneDrive data is gone after 10 days, or 30 days rather. And that is no longer true, apparently. So that kind of surprised me. And I've seen no public announcements about that. It just appeared. But again, 200 a month could have easily missed it.
They set the ability to set it for a long time.
But it was only in PowerShell, right?
No.
No? Oh, okay. All right. Well, it now defaults to 10 years. Okay. Yeah. Yep. It's for everyone. So the admin tenant is tenant wide. So that setting is tenant wide. Yeah. All right. So other than that, some of you may have noticed we're at a new venue. So big thanks to the garage, the new Nerd Center, which has been recently remodeled and is awesome and amazing how different it is from last time we were here. When was the last time we were here?
Years.
Year and a half ago, 2 years. So it's been a while. We've been living out of the Microsoft Burlington building. So, and yeah, so we are going to be mixing that up this year, right? And we'll be doing a couple of events out here, a couple of events in Burlington, and maybe a few to be named venues in between as well. So stay tuned for that. It'll all be on the website as we announce stuff and move forward.
If you want us to host somewhere else, like Marlboro or something, find us a venue. Glad we tried it.
Yeah.
You want to actually back up a slide?
What? One more thing.
Okay.
Real quick. Turn Digital is our platinum sponsor and brought us all of our food and grub, which is awesome, and helps us pay for all of our overhead. So that's awesome. And I just want to give a quick thanks to them.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Cool. So, Leo, do you want to go on and tell us more? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody interested in a tour of the makerspace right next door? Yeah. We built it
Awesome.
into the time tonight, so it's not like you say no, we're going to save time. I'll just go longer.
Oh, yes, oh, definitely.
Yeah. So let's.
All right.
I'm Theo Neal. I'm a program manager on the Office team. I work with Patrick Gale and Samade. And we worked on the File Ops team, which is a part of Office Share. So we worked on features that exist across Works on PowerPoint for opening and saving documents. Anything collaboration related. So that's our key partner. I'll give you guys a quick tour of the garage. The employee collaboration center. So it's where we as Microsoft employees come, but also sometimes invite other people to come, and we can use the 3D printers or other resources available here.
Sweet. Thanks again, Theo and team. That was awesome. I didn't go in there because I would get too excited and not come out. But that's awesome. Thank you. Great. Thank you all for coming out. If you're here just for the free pizza, please stay a little bit longer. My name is not working.
Hello, not working.
My name is David Lozzi. Last name is pronounced Lozzi. You can just call me Lozzi. That's fine. Most people do. It's not Lozzi. I know a lot of people like to call me Lozzi. I try to fight that. I work for Swan Consulting. We're a national consulting firm, Microsoft partner, along with AWS partner and many others. We do strategy consulting, business consulting, and technology consulting. And I'm on the technology side, obviously. We have a local business model. So I work out of the Boston office and I travel within Boston. So if you work with Slalom, you're going to get our local resources. We do have national resources available if we can't staff it, but usually you'll get Boston people who love Boston, who get to go to events like this and party with you guys. So that's why I love Slalom. I've been there for 6 years and don't regret a second of it. There's all my contact info. That'll be at the end as well. Right now, you may not think you need it, but by the end, you may be begging me for more information. If not, at least follow me on Twitter for a day or two, just so I can have that high of getting followers, and then I'll be fine after that. Appreciate it. So we are here for Office 365. What is it? It is more than SharePoint. It's more than your email and Skype. I highlight those three because that's usually what people use Office 365 for. They buy it because Microsoft's pushing it, and it's a great product. And they immediately get email in there because that's the easiest thing to do. They start using Skype because that's just as easy. And then they slowly start bringing over SharePoint sites because that's what we know. We know SharePoint, so we can use SharePoint. But Office 365 is so much more than that. Microsoft describes Office 365 as a cloud-based subscription service that brings together the best tools for the way people work today. By combining best-in-class apps with powerful cloud services, Office 365 lets anyone create and collaborate anywhere on any device. That's directly from their website. That's a great description, and we're gonna kind of explore what that really means. But it is all about collaboration, right? Office 365 is targeted for the business to collaborate better. Microsoft has other great products that are designed for like application development and development teams, and that's not what this is for. Collaboration is beyond SharePoint. It's not just SharePoint. I know, shocking, but there's so much more collaboration that can happen in Office 365 outside of SharePoint, and that's what we're going to attack now. So I'm going to walk through two, I think, basic processes where collaboration is crucial, and we're going to kind of talk through how it's potentially done now and how Office 365 could possibly fill in some of the gaps. So how many of you have ever been hired before? Come on, I want you to raise your hands. So new hire onboarding. How many of you have been hired and was happy about that whole process? So day one, you're done. You're in. Everything's ready and set. Right? It doesn't happen. As a consultant, I have worked with dozens of clients, and onboarding vendors is the worst experience. Nobody likes us. Nobody likes to prepare for us, getting computers, accounts, and it takes a while to onboard us. Employees generally get more love and attention, but not as much as I think they all should. So we're going to walk through what I think is a typical onboarding process. Yours is probably going to be a little bit different, but I think we'll see similarities here. First, the offer is accepted. So we have Anna. She's applied. She's gone through the interview process. We've made her an offer. She's accepted the offer. The acceptance has probably gone to the recruiter or a hiring manager, depending on the size of the company. That person receives it saying, yes, Annabelle wants to come work here. So we notify the manager. That could be just in the hall. I'm going to walk down. I have a meeting with him tomorrow, so I'll wait till then and tell him or shoot him an email. We have to let HR know because HR needs to know about everything. Personnel setup, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, and then personnel setup, which might be managed by HR, could be managed by a different department. This is the finances and payroll, benefits package, all that fun stuff that we all love to get when we work. IT needs to get involved. We need to provision accounts, licenses, software, hardware. Operation gets involved, right? Where are they going to sit? What supplies do they need? How are they going to get into the building? I hope y'all have a welcome package of some sort to welcome that new hire in. I know a lot of places just kind of say good luck, but there's got to be a welcome package created to share to say, hey, welcome to our company. Then the first day happens and there's celebrations and lunches and happy hours. And then reality settles in and you realize that the department wasn't ready for the person for some reason. So now you have to get added to a half a dozen different SharePoint sites and other accounts and realize the support forgot like half my licenses. And so it's a process and can drag on depending on how big the enterprise is. I may have dramatized this a little bit, but the reality is a lot of this is kind of painful because it's disconnected, it's disjointed, right? All these groups of people that are doing all these tasks are collaborating on Annabelle, right? Like that's a piece of information that we now need to collaborate about. And it's done, it can be done very poorly. So taking this very basic use case, how does Office 365 help? Check out this animation. Thank you, Office product team. The morph transition is my favorite feature of PowerPoint. You'll see more of that coming. So the offer is accepted, right? So at Slalom, we use Salesforce to track our recruits, right? You can use any application, whatever you're using. The recruiter goes in and clicks a button and says, yes, they accepted, right? We can now take care of everything else after that automatically. We can automate that stuff and remove some of the disconnected points, right? So that person has said offer accepted. Let's just email the manager, right? Let's email their new manager saying, hey, the offer was accepted. Here's some more information. Let's write it into an HR database. Instead of sending them an email or printing a form and handing it to them, which, why do we still do that? Well, because someone needs a signature. And then we can write it directly into an HR database, right? And then let their internal processes take over for alerts and notifications. Personnel setup, right? It could write directly to like a health insurance company, right? You could say, we have a new employee, here's their information. Worst case, the reality of it is it's probably gonna be email based. Not a lot of health insurance companies are that cool or that modern. After personnel is all set up, now we have, now Annabelle's real. Right, HR signed off and done all their paperwork, personnel, she's now on the books. So now we can get the rest of the organization up to speed. So we're going to go ahead and tell IT to do some work. But we're not going to actually tell anybody on IT. We're going to go ahead and just create an account in AD because we can. Right? Like, why submit a request to have an analyst type all that information in, probably mistype it, misspell their last name. That's really fun. And then you have the wrong email address for your whole career at that company because changing IDs is impossible. So we can automate updating Azure AD, set that automatic password, set what member of what security groups. If there is manual tasks, we can push it right into Zendesk, right, or any other help desk system. And then we can order a laptop, right? We can insert that request into an existing process, submit it directly to Dell. We can get the manager involved as well, and maybe the manager signs off as to what hardware they're getting. Is it At Salon, we have consultant laptops, and we have developer laptops, and then we have laptops that I'm not allowed to touch because they're just ridiculous. So we can help automate all of that stuff just for IT. So now your IT team is maybe doing a Zendesk or help desk ticket to do something. I don't even know what at this point because we can automate everything, right? While IT is doing their job, we send an email off to the office manager that says, hey, Annabelle's going to be starting. Please set up her desk, right? And unless you're Amazon Robotics and you have robots to automate everything in your office, someone has to physically do something at this point. But with IoT devices, I'm sure we could figure out a way to have paper like laying and staplers laying on desks and stuff. Once IT and ops are all set, we can then create that welcome package, right? The welcome package, we may start with a Word document because that will be their username and their password. We just want to print that off so they have it physically so they can type it in. And then we may use like a SharePoint list or a SharePoint page for the rest of their onboarding duties, right? Watch this video, make sure you've updated your email signature, make sure you've finished off any of the paperwork, make sure our finance department has your name correctly for pay and all that stuff, set up direct deposit. And then we go ahead and notify the manager to say, hey, everything's done, right? Like the process is done. Annabelle's all set to start work on Monday. And we can let the department know, which should be their manager. But in reality, managers, you're too busy to take care of the new people. So that's why usually it's after they're hired, we then realize we forgot to do a bunch of stuff for them. So we can email point contacts. We could predefine SharePoint sites or other security groups to say if this person is a new hire for sales, add them to the sales SharePoint site, right? Add them automatically. Let's get them into the collaboration tools we're using. Could be added into Teams, anything else automatically. So that first day, it's as easy and seamless as possible for that user. All of this, I use the word automate a lot. All of that's being facilitated by Flow. I've done POCs with this Flow a few times for clients, and it's fantastic. It's like, wow, like we can actually do this. And I know it's just onboarding, but that first day for that employee, it's going to be a lot more impressive than I have to spend a week trying to figure out why my account's not working correctly. And I don't even have a desk yet because they didn't know I was coming in because somebody misspelled my last name and it wasn't in the request correctly. And but I'm sure that never happens in reality. And then we can use Power BI to kind of help monitor and watch all this, right? So as a manager, I may want to see, especially Salem had a banger year last year. We hired 100 new consultants here in Boston, just Boston alone. So giving executive staff the ability to look into the hiring process, right? Not just who we're hiring and when they're starting, but this process, right? Like, why is personnel setup taking 3 days, right? Maybe we can optimize that. Maybe there's new software we can justify now to purchase for certain departments because of the overall insights we are gathering. Any questions on that? I went through it kind of quick because I got a lot of content to cover, unfortunately, or fortunately. Any questions? I mean, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. I have one other example to run through that may feel a little more day-to-day. That's project engagement. How many of you work on projects? No? Okay. So this was another bad example. As a consultant, I work on many projects. Every client's a new project. Every client brings its own pile of projects. And so every project, I've found a pattern, right? That there's a proposal, right? Or there's a business case if it's just an internal project. There's something to justify that project to stakeholders to spend money on whatever your project is. This is usually created in a little silo or in a sandbox. One person's working on it, potentially in their own My Documents, or if you're lucky enough to have a SharePoint library, they are using that. And it's just a very small siloed team there writing it. Then the stakeholders, the business team says, yes, this is a great idea. I want whatever project that you're selling me. And so now we need to create functionality that works. There you go. Nope. A project workspace. Did that do twice? It did. So now we need to create a project workspace, right? Where's the team going to live? Where all the assets going to live? Where the outputs and the inputs going to be stored? So this could be, again, a file share. Chances are with this audience, we're using SharePoint sites, SharePoint libraries for that. Then we have a kickoff. And for the kickoff, we need to bring together the whole project team now, right? Up until this point, it may have just been a few key business people justifying and getting money for this project, but now we need to bring in the developers or the doers of the project. And now we execute the project, right? We create content. Every project creates something. Is that a fair statement? Anyone work on a big project that didn't create something? Okay. Good. All right. I had a hard time with that statement, but I'm pretty sure it's true. Training would be the only thing I could see as being consumption. Like my project is to get trained. Maybe I'm not creating anything there, but that's the only scenario I could think of. But chances are we're all creating something. We need to do pulse checks throughout the project. How many of you do pulse checks during projects? It is kind of an agile-ish thing, but it is something that can be applied to if you're stuck in waterfall processes, what have you. It's just a way of taking a pulse check of your entire team. Like, how are we doing? It's been 1 month. How is this going? It's been 6 months. How is it going? Right? Can we improve? Can we grow? And you have to report statuses. Right? The people who are paying for the project want to know how's that project going. Right? You can't have a 6-month project without talking to a stakeholder. That's impossible. If it happens in your organization, hire us. That'd be awesome. And then this final delivery, you deliver whatever it is you've created, materials, websites, applications, new business process, whatever you've created, you deliver it. Hopefully you're debriefing with your team. I hope you're debriefing with your team afterwards, saying what went well, what could have gone better. If we were to do this project again, what should change? Like, that's the stuff, that's how we learn and grow. And then we archive, I hope. Traditionally, archiving is either you turning the SharePoint site to read-only. Hey, look, it's archived, which is legitimate. Sometimes it's zipping and putting it into an archive system or pretending it never existed and let IT deal with it 5 years from now when they have terabytes of data. So very basic project engagement flow here. Here comes Morph. Ooh. Cool. So how can Office 365 fit in here? I bet you've guessed some of the gaps already, right? Project creation. I did mention SharePoint, but with Office 365 and the more modern versions of SharePoint, co-authoring to reality. Co-authoring to reality on devices, not just a web experience. At first, some of my business counterparts laughed at this, like, why would I want to co-author? I work on my slide and I'll merge it later. And then we worked on stuff together, and there was just this is amazing. I can see you typing, I can make changes with you, and just use a chat window to communicate, not have to have a 1-hour meeting to go over 2 slides. And co-authoring is fantastic. If you're not using it or promoting it yet, do it. Stop the check-in, check-out nonsense. I know there's requirements for everything. You may need to. But, and now that we're kind of the business case, I may be working with 2 or 3 people, a very small silo, but we have things to do, right? Like, we need to create a deck. We need to do a little bit of research. So we have tasks. So we can pull in a task board. We can then assign stuff, set deadlines, all that stuff, manage our business case like a mini project. Because that in and of itself is a project. Writing business cases is a project. If you haven't been involved in it, ask the people where you work, what's that involve? And then buy them a beer, because it's a process at most places. And now we have files, we have this planner thing, and we may want to be able to chat with people, like chat with a couple others, maybe even pull the stakeholders in. So we can wrap that up nicely with Teams. All right, so Teams enables the instant chat and enables us to have conversations back and forth. The project workspace, I would highly recommend Teams. If you're not in Teams yet, get in Teams. Like, it's there, it's ready for you, I promise. And so Teams can contain your task board, right? So we got the project, now we need to assign a bunch of tasks and build out a project plan. Planner is great for small to mid-ish size projects. And then we can have files there, right? File shares, editing files, all the content, all that stuff. Planner, I'll back up a little bit. Planner is great for small to mid-ish size. Which means if it's a larger project, multiple work streams, dozens of sprints, you may want to look at like Jira, or if you have visualstudio.com that has a great task management with epics and features and stories and all that stuff. Either way, you can pull those into Teams. You can have Teams basically seamlessly integrated with other non-Microsoft platforms, which is awesome. So then we have the kickoff. We're going to use the same team space. We've co-authored a PowerPoint together, which is going to run through the project team, kind of introduce everyone to the project charter. What's the business case? Why are we doing this project? Why does so-and-so love this so much? So we'll meet. We use Teams video and audio just like we are tonight. And we can record the meeting. And when I hit record, or when I'm done recording, that video automatically gets uploaded to Stream. So the video is automatically stored in the cloud. Stream posts back to your team channel saying the video's ready, click here to watch it. You do that with WebEx, you have to get the video, download it to your local machine, then upload it somewhere else to then share it with everybody else, which is a nightmare. Stream also adds additional capabilities that we'll talk about in just a moment. But now the video's there. Now we have a video recording of what was said. So as we onboard people or people roll off and we replace people, or it's 6 months in, we forget why we're doing this, we want a refresher, right? There's a video there. I don't have to read PowerPoints in my own point of view. I can rewatch the actual video announcing everything we're doing here. So then we get into the real work, creating content, obviously files. The content could be coming in from anywhere, right? Depending on the nature of the project, you could be Googling a lot, doing a lot of research, trying to figure out what the best way to implement X, Y, Z is. Teams can collect a lot of that and just store that, make it available for your entire team. You can add like web pages as tabs inside of your team. You could do like a Google search result page and put that in Teams. You're always referencing it if you want to share it with your team. And of course, Teams has file sharing, right? It's SharePoint in the back end, so you can upload virtually everything into this team site. I mentioned the pulse surveys before. Microsoft has a survey tool built in as well. So we could send out a pulse survey every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, get people to fill out 10 questions. How's the project going? How do you think it feels? Forms can save that automatically into Excel for you. We can then automatically have Power BI read that Excel file, and you can get your dashboards in Power BI. And we can even automate the pulse survey to run every 4 weeks with a flow. So at the beginning of the project, I create this pulse survey automation. I don't have to think about it again, right? The project I'm on now, it's client driven, and they are manually doing this. They send out the link, then they harass us, and then they remind us. Then they download all the results from like Survey Monkey or something, put it into Excel file, spend a few hours analyzing it, making charts, putting it into a PowerPoint file, and then we have a 1 hour meeting about our results that we submitted about a week ago, because that's how long it takes to process all this. We can automate this, like Office 365, this happens natively, naturally, and without code. That's without code. Like you don't need developers to do all this stuff. Report statuses, sharing back to your stakeholders, obviously PowerPoint. I know a lot of people use PowerPoint for this. You could also look at using Sway. I am not 100% sold on Sway yet, but I need to share it because it's part of Office 365. It is designed to do next generation reporting, modern, media-rich type of presentations and reporting. Depending on the scale of your project, I was on one project where we actually spun up a modern SharePoint site and used that as our reporting tool back for the company. So we worked on our own team site. We did all of our own work as we created deliverables and we need to share updates. We used the SharePoint site and created a modern page every week for the status report. And then people knew where to go. They could search it on the enterprise. They could browse past status reports. They didn't have to like reach out to us and ask us, oh, where's that report from 3 weeks ago? I just want to check. Everything's there. Then we have final delivery. So you've delivered. It's awesome. You guys are rock stars. You all getting promotions. Everyone's happy. And then we need to debrief the team. You can do another survey, right? You could send out a survey and call that a debrief. I would recommend the same process for the pulse, right? Collect it, analyze it, let's meet on it. And of course, if we're meeting in Teams, make sure you hit that record button so the debrief goes up to Stream as well. What's beautiful about this now, though, is at the end of the 3 months later, the project is done, and we may want to do something similar, right? I can go to Stream, I can watch the kickoff, I can understand why did we do this initially, what's the point of it, and I can watch the debrief, right? What went well, what didn't go well, right? That's valuable insights that we lose every project we do. Somebody writes it down in a OneNote file or a pad of paper, and then I don't know who has that, right? Like I can't search that because I didn't write it down. So the collaboration capability for long after some of these projects are done is still there. We can still get all that information. And then archiving. I'm just going to put flow there because archiving means many things to many organizations, I've learned. So you could write a flow that just switches the site to read-only, and that's all it does, right? If that's happy, that works for IT. You could automate it to pull all that data down and then upload it to an archival system, depending on retention policies and all that stuff, right? So flow can do it all. I'm pretty confident in saying that. If flow can't do what you want, let me know. I'd be curious to see what that is. So there is a lot more here that we could do with Office 365. I just wanted to kind of brush the top a little bit. And there's a lot here you could just get away with a SharePoint site. Any of you sitting here and be like, I can do that in SharePoint. I can do that in SharePoint. Like this task list in SharePoint. I don't need a planner board, right? Like I don't need a team for that. We have the news board feed, which is awesome. Right? Like the SharePoint is fantastic. I'm not downplaying SharePoint, but Microsoft has invested gazillions of dollars in these other products and tools to make the entire experience better, to make your entire digital experience within the Microsoft ecosystem better. And it's a shame that we're not using this stuff more. So it's all about collaboration. It's all about your people doing better work, getting better at their jobs without having to worry about how do I send this file to you, right? Like people waste time. Should I put this in Google Drive or Dropbox? Let me check with IT, what's approved. Oh, we use Ignite. What's Ignite? And we find the training material on Ignite. Now I can share this file with you, right? Like it's not intuitive and it might be a little extreme, but the Office 365 stack is designed to help you and your teams collaborate faster so they can get their job done. So they can do what they like more. Nobody likes trying to find a file share. That's a nightmare. So we haven't dove into the actual capability, the functionality of what is Office 365. Anybody see this one? I love this one. Yeah. Love this one. Big thanks to Matt Wade for that. There's a link down there for this. This is almost everything you get in Office 365. Say almost because there's no security features in here. There's nothing here about the DLP and all that stuff that's built into Office 365. Yeah. Which is okay, right? This is business user driven, and I'm okay with that. What I really like about this are those pies. Have you all seen the pie charts with the thousands of slices that nobody can read? This actually groups things by capability, right? So the bars on the side, like you'll see that like they've made an attempt to group things by capability, which is also very user friendly when you're trying to think, I want to manage a project, right? And there's, oh, I can do Planner or Project Online. So there's a lot in Office 365. We're not going to go through all this because we don't have that much time. We're going to go through the colored items. I chose the colored items because they're cool. And the gray ones are either self-explanatory, like Word Online is Word Online, right? Or they're pay services. Dynamics 365, Staff Hub, bookings are either unique licenses or they're pay add-ons that I just don't want to cover. Project Online included. I didn't include Outlook because we all know how to use Outlook, right? We all know the benefits of Outlook. I don't need to talk about that. Same with Skype for Business. Is there anything grayed out that you wish I would talk about? Awesome.
One thing I'd like to know is whether I can still take the diagram and still display it in SharePoint.
I believe so. The Modern has the widget. Yeah. A lot of it's probably clouded because you can now edit Visio in the cloud, which is a pay-on, which is an add-on, but the viewer should still be built in. All right, what do we get with Office 365? Stream. Do you like the color coordination? I love PowerPoint. Stream is the YouTube of the enterprise, and I'm not shy in saying that. It has channels. It has the ability for likes and comments. It's not YouTube, right? You don't want all this video public. Your kickoff meeting, you don't want somebody else finding your kickoff meeting for a project that your company's investing millions of dollars into. That'd be really bad. So it is private. It is locked down. I believe they're going to be allowing you to share videos anonymously. So share a link, anybody could watch it, just like sharing a file anonymously. I've heard that's coming. I don't know where that's at. So I mentioned the capabilities before. It does do text. No, I didn't mention this before. Stream has text transcription built into it. So you upload a video, it's going to take all that spoken stuff and put words there for you. So you can read along, but it also allows you to search. So if you were in the kickoff meeting 2 months later and you swear, we talked about feature XYZ and we weren't going to do that. Like this was not supposed to be in scope. Go to the video, search XYZ, find that, send it back to your manager with really kind words. I wouldn't throw it in their face. But awesome, thank you. Yeah, so you can search across all of your stream videos, text. Good.
That's brand new.
I was going to say that, but I wasn't sure if that's true yet. Okay, awesome. I think you need the E5 license, but there is facial recognition built into Stream as well. So if there's a lot of video conferencing, you will see a timeline of faces. So you can click on a face. If you knew it was Jeff talking, you click on his face, it would jump the video to where he's talking. But I believe that's only E5.
That's E3.
That's E3?
Yep.
Excellent.
And
That's E3.
Also, it'll pick up on the faces in like stock photos that you use in PowerPoint.
Awesome,
If
awesome.
you stream like the PowerPoint.
Some of the cons, it doesn't support enterprise branding, last I heard, so you can't have a fully branded Stream channel, but you can embed Stream in modern SharePoint sites. There's a widget there, you just give it a channel feed, so you can brand your SharePoint around it and then just have the feed widget inside of there. So potentially this could replace anything that you use YouTube for privately. We at Slalom, we have a healthy video team. It's fantastic how many videos we create, but we used to store them on YouTube and keep it private and share the URL with the company because we didn't have a product like Stream. We've since moved all that to Stream because it's so easier. Sharing is even easier. You just click share and it can share it back to your teams or what have you. The whole process gets a lot easier. Next up is Sway. I mentioned this before. Not entirely sold on it yet. Every time I do one of these talks, I think I should try Sway, and then I go into Sway and decide not to. It's just, I'm not there yet. But it provides this media-rich experience. Think single page, usually. Project status reports, that's what Microsoft's pushing. It's for reports, it's for presentations. It is interactive. It's very easy to use. Like if you're brand new to PowerPoint and brand new to Sway, Sway is so much easier. But PowerPoint is so much more powerful. Like you can't do half the like animations and transitions and stuff. But if that's not a need for you, then Sway might work out. Again, Sway doesn't support enterprise branding, though I think you can now specify enterprise your branding inside of a single Sway. I think that's available now, but the overall Sway experience is not brandable. Last I checked, it doesn't integrate much with Office 365. Like there's no Sway widget in SharePoint to embed a Sway into your SharePoint page. Maybe you don't want to because it's SharePoint and Sway. They're doing the same thing. I don't know. So Sway could replace PowerPoint or microsites if you're into doing microsites. We'll cover that in a second. We have, last year we had Chrissy Gulick, I can't say her last name right, speak on Sway. She did a great topic just on Sway. That recording got corrupted. So I've asked her to come back this year to do the same talk, hopefully more updated with all the updates. So hopefully this year we'll have someone come in, talk Sway, and sell us on why Sway is awesome. So SharePoint Online. I started this off by saying Office 365 is more than SharePoint. It is. But SharePoint's modern experience is still worth talking about. What they're doing in the modern side is much better than what a lot of us are using SharePoint for now, right? Like the classic publishing sites or team sites. So I mentioned before, I've used SharePoint sites to be like that portal of information to push back to the company. The modern sites are great for that. They're great for communication. Not necessarily collaboration. You can make it work for collaboration, but the communication sites are designed for communication. They're designed to be consumed. They're designed for few authors and many visitors. So if you're like about to roll out a new service area or a service offering within your company, functional groups, or just a project, right? You can spin up a new SharePoint site, have a nice microsite built out, multiple pages, embedded files, all that. You can build a great, rich experience without a lick of code, without those pesky developers, and still have it all within the Office 365 ecosystem, all searchable, all user-friendly. I'm not sold that the modern experience is ready for primetime intranet, though. Big difference between a microsite. This one microsite's targeted to one purpose, right? One big event or one project. An enterprise intranet requires a lot more than what modern has to offer. The SharePoint, classic SharePoint experience was there, right? They had that, the customization capabilities. I used to have taxonomy on here, but Microsoft recently updated modern to support taxonomy. But you can't do subsites, you can't do subpages, you have to trick out navigation. There's no mega menu yet. Microsoft announced that's coming. Personalization isn't great story yet. So if you're looking for a real enterprise-wide, like large enterprise-wide intranet, I wouldn't go to the modern sites yet. You can still use them for, like microsites or smaller department sites. But if you're looking for something that your employees go to and they're wowed by it, and this is like custom, this is branded, this looks like us, my brand, the modern sites, I don't believe are there yet. If you want to argue about it afterwards over beer, I'm game for that. That's fine. So the SharePoint modern experience, I would say, replaces that microsite experience. I put WordPress there because my current client uses WordPress for all their microsites. And I'm like, just use SharePoint, you're paying for it. Like, why are we?
So, David, what would you do for an intranet site then?
I would either consider the classic experience and brand it heavily.
It goes away.
It's going away. I would look at other modern experience management platforms, Drupal by Acquia, Sitecore, Adobe AEM. We're getting very pricey very quickly, but you get a lot more robust out of that. But Drupal is open source, it's free, it is PHP. So if you're a Microsoft shop, you may have to, your team may have to learn PHP. I'm working on a story now of comparing Drupal to SharePoint on the intranet to say, like, is Drupal really a good story there? But to your point, this is the best option because everyone has it. If you have Office 365, you have a full-blown intranet. Like, you have the capability there, but all that functionality is not there. And I have a whole blog article about why I think this too.
And just a quick clarification, classic sites aren't going away, just the ability to force it enterprise-wide.
Right. Eventually, I'm sure Classic will go away.
But I mean, we're going through this right now, so we're setting up our intranet in modern, and we're going flat structure, which is driving me nuts.
Yep.
We build the same thing over and over again, and every site election, I hate it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
not happy.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Next item is Delve. Anybody play with Delve? Okay. Don't be afraid of Delve. You can go there. Fast way to go there is click on someone's name in like SharePoint Online or some of the other areas. It'll send you to their profile. Delve is magic that tries to encourage you to explore more documents. I use magic because Microsoft's not releasing the algorithms they're using. It's their secret sauce. But basically, when I go to a Delve profile, if I look at Mike's profile and we work together in the same company, I would see files he's working on that I have permission to. It's all permission trimmed. I would see files that he and I have shared. I would see files that he's working on maybe with his manager that maybe I've been in a meeting with, right? So it tries to connect and share information based upon what it knows. Everything that it knows everything about your Outlook, every meeting, everything that's in there, who you're in the meetings with, files shared during the meetings. Delve is paying attention. It's listening to all of that data. And anything that you have access to, SharePoint Online and OneDrive.
Is there any way to make it less Big Brothery?
So some of the cons, I didn't put Big Brothery on there. I guess that'd be a con for some. People search is limited. We're finding a lot of people still like this rich people search experience, especially larger enterprises. Like, I'm looking for a sales rep who does this in the LA office, right? You can't do that with Delve search. You still have to use the classic search experience. It's another point against the modern SharePoint search experience is terrible. Or or create something custom, right? So you can allow this more advanced people search filtering. You can't customize the interface at all. There's no branding. Users can select their own header image, so they can change that. That's neat. Yeah, no enterprise branding there. And it doesn't integrate with other data platforms. So that data you're seeing has to live in Office 365. I don't think anything's been published, but Microsoft recently released Microsoft Search. You guys hear about that?
Yep.
So Microsoft Search is promising us to connect to other data sources. That may fix this Delve issue. Like, I have no idea. I'm guessing because Microsoft Search is so integrated with Office 365. I feel it natural that anything Microsoft Search has access to, the rest of Office 365 should have access to. So hopefully that's coming down the line. So Delve could replace People Search if you like just a basic keyword search against name, and I think Office, I think it's the only properties there. And if you have a traditional search engine and or just for files and stuff, play around with Delve. It's not scary. You won't get in trouble. You won't see stuff that you're not supposed to unless you see stuff you're not supposed to. That's the beauty of this thing, is that it will let you get to stuff you're not supposed to. I recommend don't opening it because it's all auditable. And let IT know. Be a hero. Be like, I have access to this file. Blah blah. Right? Like, let your IT department know. Don't open it because they can see who opens files.
It's a great security auditing tool.
Yeah, it's a great way to audit. Like, oops, we didn't secure this SharePoint site. That never happens. Forms. Forms is a simple survey tool. It does quizzing as well, though I haven't used it yet. So this is a great tool to gather feedback. It's a single page experience. It's question after question after question. There's multiple question types. It's very easy to build. It's all click friendly. And I mentioned before, it writes directly to Excel. You can set it up. So you open up an Excel file in SharePoint Online. There's a data tab in Excel. You all know about that. There's a button up there that says forms, get data from forms. You click that, it sends you to the forms where it says to build your forms. And every field you make gets inserted into the Excel file automatically. So it creates the data structure inside of Excel, and you're creating a rich experience outside of Excel. And so now collecting information, pulse survey, but also like, hey, we're having lunch again this Friday. Where do you all want to eat, right? Like just do a quick form, supposed to email, and then somebody forgets to hit reply all, and then it's weird chaos.
Can you save to a list?
You can use Flow at that point. So every form that gets submitted, you can attach a flow to it. At the end of my presentation, I will have a way for you to request this deck, and you will fill out a quick form, and I have a flow that will then take my PowerPoint, convert it to a PDF, and then email it to you. And I stole that from one of my colleagues who's done it before. So at the very end, you'll be able to experience forms in the power of Flow and my OneDrive. That's the PowerPoint's on my OneDrive. It is still pretty limited, like SurveyMonkey and all those other big ones like allow like pagination, for example. Forms, you can't do pagination. You have 50 questions. Whoosh, 50 questions straight down. I figured out tricks, like you can show and hide questions, so you can give a feel of pagination as you scroll down the page. My blog has that example there. I don't use survey tools enough to know if there's other greater limitations. I haven't done a full analysis. My surveys in the past have usually been raise your hand if type deal. So we are using forms a lot at Slalom. I'm promoting forms with clients, and so far so good. Yeah. So the fun. This is what I love about this Office 365 stack. Microsoft has this thing called Power Platform. It's a subset of Office 365. I think Microsoft could do a much better job of marketing that and showing off the Power Platform. Power Platform consists of Power Apps, Flow, and Power BI, and they are the business-driven application development, basically. These next three areas, you don't need developers. You all can go to Power Apps right now and start creating applications for your phone, for your desktop, and it's fantastic. I did a talk as to why Flow and Power Apps rock last year. That recording's on YouTube. That didn't get corrupted. That ran 2 hours because I just had so much to talk about, and you all weren't falling asleep or leaving, so I just kept talking. I'm paying attention to the time tonight, so that doesn't happen again. But their Power Apps itself is not designed for SharePoint. If you don't like SharePoint, or well, if you don't like SharePoint, you wouldn't be here. But if SharePoint is weird, or if you're just not a big fan, Power Apps is not SharePoint. Power Apps is not designed for SharePoint. It wasn't, at least I don't believe it was let's create a whole new platform and make sure it's SharePoint friendly. It does integrate with SharePoint. It is the custom form tool for SharePoint, but I've created a lot of apps without SharePoint. without even using anything else in Office 365. I create the app, I'm talking to Azure Data Services, I'm pulling in data from Salesforce, I'm working with other data sources well outside the Office 365 ecosystem. You can use SharePoint, don't get me wrong, like SharePoint's a great data source. But my biggest complaint about Power Apps right now is it tends to run slow. And it's run slow enough for me to want to share that with you all. It's not a performance application. It's definitely runs slower when you're going against SharePoint lists. Like those data connections are just slower in comparison to an Azure data connection. But for business use, performance is important, but it's not like 10 minutes it takes to load. Yeah.
What do you think of the possibility of using Power Apps to fill the gap in modern sites for widgets that are missing?
We've looked into that, but the performance, like it takes 3 or 4 seconds longer for that Power App widget to load. So definitely possible. We've POC'd it with clients and we end up going custom SPF export parts because the performance is just not there yet, which is disappointing.
But for those of us that don't have access to the pool of developers available.
Right, then yes, go at it. Yeah, absolutely. So Power Apps, I mentioned it integrates with SharePoint. The SharePoint Modern experience, when you go to a form, there's a customize button. You all see that up there? You click that, it opens it up in Power Apps for you. Links it to the SharePoint form automatically. Now you can put business logic into your SharePoint form. Traditionally, business logic in SharePoint forms would require a developer. You would either have to use SharePoint Designer, terrifying, break the form and embed JavaScript in there, or write JavaScript separately and embed it to the page via web part, or just create a whole new custom ASPX page. Use ASPX, anybody who knows how old that is, it's very old for SharePoint development. It just wasn't as easy as it is now. Definitely not business driven. You needed developer resources. Now we can customize SharePoint forms on the fly in a matter of minutes. It's awesome. And again, if you want to learn more about Power Apps, check out my video. Check out the Boss 365 YouTube channel and just search Power Apps. You'll find it. Power Apps replaces InfoPath. This is Microsoft's announcement. Like InfoPath is dying finally, and Power Apps will replace that for custom forms in SharePoint.
Did they announce any update on the date?
2026.
It just keeps getting pushed out
Yeah.
because a lot of enterprises use InfoPath.
Yeah.
Anybody using Access apps in-house? Microsoft Access forms applications? One? That's it, really? I had a rash of people come to me about that. Like, will this work in Power Apps? And short answer is yes. You just need to find a place to put all that data. If your Access app is the database as well, Power Apps is not going to store data. Cool. The second item in the Power Platform is Flow. This gets me just as excited. I don't know why I get so excited about these things. It's just, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. So one big plus for Flow is that it can be your central location for approvals across the enterprise. It has a very nice, rich approval experience that if you have a file that gets uploaded to SharePoint and you want an approval workflow, use Flow to do that. If you have a new sales lead and you want to make sure in Dynamics CRM or in Salesforce, there's a few people reviewing that, you can use Flow for that as well. Flow connects to, I think the current count's over 250 different cloud providers. So it can attach to anything and use Flow for the approvals. So now your managers go to one spot for approvals. They don't have to check their email, go to Salesforce, go to this application, go to that application. We can centralize everything into Flow. Flow also runs on timers, by set times and timers. So you can have a routine run every morning, export data out of an Excel file, massage it and upload it or email it or whatever your IT needs to do to prove things are still secure or whatever. Right, Mark? It's just all reporting and nonsense. Flow's designed to automate your day-to-day, your week-to-weeks, right? The big plus for Flow is that it helps streamline a ton. I could sit here and talk for another hour about the flows that I've created and the stuff that I work with, but I won't. My only headache with Flow is there's no service accounts. So I create a flow, it's under my account. I send an email sending from my account. There's actions to send on behalf as, but if I connect to SharePoint, it's using my account. Weird, it's a weird oddity. And I think I understand why there's a limitation there in Flow. The way around this is to license a service account. So now you're paying for a service account. A Large enterprises, 10,000, 20,000 people, one more license isn't a big deal. Smaller companies, that can cost. Yeah.
I'd add one more con to that list, the inability to rename a data source with a friendly name.
After you've used it.
Yeah.
Yep.
'Cause
It's true.
I have a dozen connections that say to Excel, and it says Excel,
that's
Excel, or Excel,
That's a feature.
and I don't know which
Yeah.
one it is.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I could spend a lot more time talking about that. So, from my point of view, Flow is enterprise ready, except for that service count issue. One other gotcha. So, I have a Flow. I send an email. I automate it out to the operations team at my office. They all get an email. Everyone's happy. It's just a reminder. I share this Flow because I like to share. I try not to be the bottleneck, so I share it with one of my colleagues who knows Flow as well, so we can both edit this Flow. He's now an owner of this Flow. Guess whose connection the email keeps sending as? Mine. So every time I share a Flow, I follow it up with a threat letter. Like, I know where you live, I know who your kids are. If you mess with my account, I will come after you. Fortunately, he hasn't yet. I think I've legitimately scared him. But like the reality is he could change that send message to the CEO of my company and send him a love message from me, and I wouldn't know it, right, until he replied back saying what's going on. So there's risk there. That's why I let one other person access my Flow because I trust them. He would, in theory, yes. So if I had a OneDrive connection in that Flow, he would have access to my entire OneDrive.
So whoever set the connection, their permission.
Yep.
When he edits and adds a connection, is it his permission?
Correct. Yeah. So if he then adds a connection, it's his permission.
So whoever touched the Flow, the special security risk to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's only the connections within the Flow. It's not all of your connections. And if they add a new connection, it's their
So
connection.
if you start a Flow with a service account, make all your connections there, and then allow everybody to edit after that point, there's good security.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
those people then who vetted it, leave the company, does that break the flow?
Yeah, that's why I share, and I try to promote the sharing. Is that like any one of us could win $1 million and leave, right? So the reality is I need to make sure I share these shared flows to make sure things run when I leave.
That's what I'm trying to figure out how to set that up. We're on that right now. How
Yeah.
do we create it? So we're pushing creating that new service account.
Yep.
And we would log into that service account, put that in our governance.
Right. So
What about publishing as a template? Does that clean up that issue?
publishing it as a template gets rid of the connection specific details, but then you have to bring it back in and someone still has to run it.
But that forces it to be under their name.
Right, yeah, they would reinstantiate all that.
You have the same problem with the survey form, MS form as well. So as people transition out of companies, that form's gone.
Oh yeah, anything created. Yep. Yeah, so her comment was about forms. You have the similar problem with forms is somebody leaves and they created a personal form that goes with them, basically. Forms are best made using groups. I would make it in groups and everyone in the group has access to that form. So you can invite a group to have access to your flow, right? So you can make it shared and have multiple people on there. But again, it's your security connection that's being used. There's ways around it. Again, I could talk a lot longer, but I won't on that. Power BI, probably, I love Power BI. I've used it a lot, but I can talk the least about this for some reason. We have a whole data and analytics team that specializes in Power BI stuff. So that's why I don't learn it, because I got experts to handle all this. But Power BI is an insight generator. It's designed for you to feed it data, and then you can pull insights out of it. Now, it's not that magical. You do need to know your data. You need to know how to look at your data and how to slice it and link it and all that stuff. But any of you can start using Power BI right now. E1 on up, you can create, you have your own workspace in Power BI. You can upload your Excel file or link to your Excel file that's in OneDrive and start using Power BI right now and creating cool little dashboards. It starts getting pricey when you want to share those, make those shared work dashboards. You need to get the E5 license to be able to share it with your manager or anybody else. But you can take screenshots or copy paste. Like there's ways around sharing. It's just not that slick. So if you do a lot of reporting in Excel, I encourage you to take a look at Power BI. Try doing the same thing that you're doing in Excel and Power BI. Like Power BI, it's just a really robust reporting platform. And there are widgets in SharePoint, so you can pull in some of those dashboards into Power Apps, into SharePoint, and share your dashboards there as well. But again, you'll need
you
the
have to buy a
E5 license for all that sharing stuff.
You
Yep.
can just buy the Power BI Pro.
Or yeah, this is where I start glossing over and wish my data guys were here. Yeah, I don't know what the difference is between this and Pro and all that. I haven't.
Everybody who wants to see it has to have a license. And you can get it.
Cool.
The presentations you get are getting nonsensical. I mean, they're just like, not really helpful, you know, just colorful.
Yeah.
But you know, you think it's gonna be a tool that's gonna, you know, help manage and help to understand better the data instead of looking, you know, at Excel that, you know, it's huge.
Right.
It's kind of.
Yeah.
But it is, you know,
Yeah.
it's work, I can understand that.
Yeah, there's definitely work to do Power BI. I think effectively at the enterprise level, you need people who know Power BI, who understand the data and how to do that analysis. Data scientists, right? We have data scientists on staff. I didn't even know it was a real thing until they started hiring them. And I'm like, really? You're a scientist of what? Like data? I'm like, what? Yeah, right. And then he talked to me about the algorithms and the crazy. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, just stop. I trust you now.
This is really, really powerful in some of the other 365 tools, Dynamics,
Right.
ERP, CRM. And I actually was talking on ERP about 3 years ago. That blew me away. That's why I went, oh my God, Power BI, I want to try this.
Yeah. It takes
a lot.
to do the big wow stuff, but to say that this is part of the Power Platform, this is focused on the owners of data, not the developers. This is designed with you all who have data that you work with every day to analyze your data, right? Upload it, start messing with it. Maybe you pull in somebody who knows data sciencey stuff more better than you, get their opinion, start massaging the data, working with it. It's definitely something worth exploring if you spend, especially if you're spending a lot of time in Excel making reports. How many of you have a to-do list? Yay! Microsoft has a product called To Do. However, they have a product called Forms, which is for surveys, and Power Apps, which is for forms. Sorry, guys. Anyway, To Do is a personal task list. There isn't much in. It's a great task list. I'm not downplaying this at all. It's designed for personal task management. If you use Wunderlist, it's a lot like that. Microsoft bought Wunderlist and is moving that into To Do. If you go to Do right now, there's an import button that'll actually suck in your Wunderlist account. It's not fully integrated across O365 yet. They only recently started with some of the flow actions to be able to automate some stuff around To Do. Rumor has it, and I don't know if you guys can confirm this or not. We are recorded, so it's NDA, don't say anything. Just nod. That To Do is supposed to be the future home of everything you do in Office 365. This is what I've heard. So if you have planner tasks assigned to you or even SharePoint tasks assigned to you, you can go to Do and see stuff. You can see all that as well.
Planner tasks is actually GA right now.
Planner tasks?
Planner tasks will show up in To Do.
Really?
I've been using it for months. It's awesome.
There's something that's not working on my account because I tried it yesterday for this and I didn't see anything.
Okay.
Awesome.
What license level?
E3, E1, right? E1 up.
One.
Oh, for what he's talking about?
For
Or
this
this?
integrated in, or?
This is just part of it. Yeah, this is in your E1, probably in every level.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably all of them.
Yeah, probably free too. Like Teams is free, probably To Do's free. You can disable your tenant.
So that's designed to replace or enhance the task list in Outlook.
Right, Outlook should be another data source that feeds into here. But yeah, no, this is completely separate as of right now.
And then
So-
people who make task lists in, whatever.
Right. Yep. I hear you. Yep. So if you're currently using paper and pencil to keep track of your tasks, To Do's a great alternative. If you use Wunderlist, check out To Do. See if it covers everything you want. I use Wunderlist for a ton of stuff. That's part of my flow talk. I integrate tightly with Wunderlist. To Do doesn't do everything I want it to do yet, but it will soon. I'm pretty confident of that. So I'm excited to switch over to Do. And
It's a terrible.
yeah. And if you're using Trello or Asana or those other ones for your personal task management, To Do might be a good replacement there as well. And there's a mobile app for it. Planner for that larger task need of managing your team. So if you've used Trello, you've used Planner. They work very much the same way. It's a bucket focus, Kanban or Kanban style. So you just drop tasks in buckets and you organize your tasks like that. It doesn't do like sprint breakdowns and all that other stuff. So if you have a larger project that needs like milestones and sprints, Planner's not the right board for that. Planner's got one up on Trello. I did a deep dive with Planner and Trello 9 months ago for a client. And Planner lets you view your task by bucket. So like that's the column, you drag it in. You can then switch that view to make your buckets be the assigned to. So here's everything assigned to Dave, here's everything assigned to Mike. You can switch it again to say progress. So you can say not started, in progress, or completed. You can have it by due date, right? Past due, do this, due today, due next week, or whatever those timeframes are. And you can group those buckets by label. So there's 8 color labels and you decide red is blocker, right? You can now look at all of your tasks by the label. Trello doesn't do progresses. I don't know if you all have seen that. There's no progress field in Trello. That's what the buckets are for. That's why they have buckets, right? In progress to do, right? You make your buckets, but if you want to add another dimension to organize your data, Trello gets really clunky really quickly. Planner, it happens natively. Planner also has built-in charts and a calendar view, so you can quickly go to a calendar view, view all your tasks. I believe there's an iCalendar link, so you can click it and open it up in your Outlook as well, I think. Yeah. Cons, I don't know. The cons are going to depend upon your needs and your requirements, right? Like if you need this to do like sprint planning, that's a big con for you then. It's not going to do it. Yeah.
You can't link things, which is really frustrating. You can't link or
Oh.
That's really frustrating for me.
Oh, yeah, set up
Like,
dependencies.
ask us for that reason.
Interesting.
Don't have a Gantt chart view from what I can tell. I
Yeah.
look at it a couple of days, but-
Just calendar view. Yeah.
Even no, they love the Gantt chart.
I know.
We're trying to get them out for projects because we don't want to pay the licenses on projects, so.
Yep. Yeah. So Planner that's a big con for you guys. It's great for small, medium-sized projects. So it could replace Microsoft Projects. I know some organizations that use Project because they paid for it. And that's it. And they don't use all the capabilities of Project. So Planner may suffice for those users in Project. If you're using Excel, this could be better. Awesome. Teams, I'm going as fast as I can here. We're almost done. Any of you all using Teams daily? More hands. The more we ask that, the more hands we see. This is good.
Progress.
Whoa. My whole slide painted that time. Okay, cool. So I mentioned it before, Teams is a chat program. It's designed for persistent chat. How many of you use Slack, HipChat, WhatsApp, Facebook, for lack of a better? It kind of works like that. Allows you to have conversations, share files. If you're used to Slack, you may not like Teams when you first get in there. Slack is chaos. Slack is just have any conversation you want over each other. It's like talking to my 4 kids. It's just like, right? Teams allows you to have central focused conversations, which throws Slack users off. But once they start getting used to it, they like it. But they won't admit it because they're Slack diehards. So work with that. It integrates really well across Office 365 because it's like the window to Office 365. Teams is designed for your team to get to everything that's in Office 365. It has flow integration, Power Apps, seamless, your forms. You can put a survey in your team, right? Or the results of the survey. You can just have that be inside of your team. It does file sharing. It does everything Office 365 can do. Maybe not to do yet. But Zoom? Zoom, the video software. Teams does do audio and video, which is what we're doing tonight. It does it really well. Microsoft built it from the ground up. They didn't use Skype's platform. They rebuilt it. But I believe there is a Zoom integration with Teams. There's a WebEx integration with Teams as well. So if you don't want to use Teams for that stuff, because I know a lot of companies are stuck on those platforms, you can integrate it. Teams has hundreds of connectors, you can use so much with Teams. And if you're not using Teams, you should. I promise you should. The biggest con I see with Teams is there's no offline access. And if that's not a problem for you, then just look at Teams again if you haven't looked at it in a while. Client I'm at now, we looked at Teams about a year ago. They have it on their calendar to look at it again in about 6 months. They keep going back to it. They're heavy Slack shop. The offline access is their one requirement, which is why I put it up there. Yes?
The other thing to point out about that is if you have an organization that's kind of set in their ways, it does require some user training.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely be prepared for that. We're
Mm.
actually going through migration and trying to get people on Teams right now. I do know that Microsoft does plan to kind of, maybe not officially, but kind of deprecate Skype for Business in some ways.
Mhm.
So Teams in the future.
Yep. It's funny because they do plan to deprecate Skype for Business, but you saw during the announcements they just released My Analytics for Skype for Business. Make up your mind, guys. Different product teams.
Has not been announced, and it's going to be many years out.
Yeah.
That deprecation date has not been announced yet. We're going to be many years out.
Really?
They're already.
They're pushing it that heavy.
Yeah, right now it's smaller businesses, smaller tenants.
Okay.
But they're basically not telling anyone anything, haven't officially announced anything, but are saying in 30 days you'll be forced to move over.
Wow.
Unless
you tell us.
But you can request a one-time 6-month thing.
Yeah, change management on that one. So Slav also does change management. We have a great organizational effectiveness team that sounds like they might be getting busy soon.
Can
Is that-
anybody confirm that connection to Zoom?
I will double check for you. Because the same client that I was doing all this assessment for have WebEx and Zoom, and they wanted to get rid of them for Teams. And I was looking at integrations.
I thought I might have seen WebEx.
Okay. Yeah, I will double check on Zoom for you.
We're using Zoom, but we're using Zoom for chat as well, so the question
Okay.
is how do we know?
Yeah, and then WebEx released a product called Teams. How cool was that? Anyway, Teams potentially, can replace Slack. I stand by that all the way. It should replace email. If you implement Teams correctly, users should stop emailing each other. They should be using Slack. Should be using Teams. Wow. Sorry, I just looked at my friend Michael, who we use Slack with, and I thought Slack because he's not on Office 365 yet. He will soon though. And should replace Skype. Will replace Skype because you have to. Yammer. Anybody using Yammer effectively? Anybody using Yammer?
I used it at a previous company, they used it really well.
Good. Okay. I've heard there are great success stories with Yammer. We at Slum don't use it. We have so many other different networks we're using right now that Yammer is just another one. But I've been on plenty of projects where Yammer is successful, as long as it's targeted correctly. People try to make Yammer do more than it's designed to do. It's your enterprise social network. Don't call it your enterprise Facebook. That confuses your users. Because there is an enterprise Facebook for starters, and Facebook does so much more that the enterprise doesn't care about. So don't call it, oh, it's the Facebook for the enterprise. Because then users expect Facebook, and this is not Facebook. But it is designed for company-wide communication. It's designed for water cooler chats. It's designed for affinity groups. It's designed to just connect your entire company. While Teams is designed for your team, project team, department teams, functional groups. That should be done in Teams. Just to muddy waters, you can create an org-wide team, which in effect would replace Yammer. So there's an option there.
So there's a question.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
big a
there are
company
max.
should you be
Yeah, they've
before-
already upped that from 1,000. When they first released it, it was 1,000. They've already increased it to 2,500. It's going to keep going up as they scale it.
Yeah.
So how big a company would you suggest you be before you consider it Yammer?
It would depend completely upon your culture. Yeah. You could be 10 people and use Yammer. Yeah, why not? Yammer integrates well with the rest of Office 365. You upload a file to Yammer, it stores to a SharePoint site that's associated with that group, which was a big update, much needed. So Yammer is great if you need that capability. It does compete pretty well with Jive. Anybody have Jive in-house? Facebook Workplace? Has anybody heard of Facebook Workplace in the Boston market in use? Like deployed here? Yeah. Our West Coast offices are having great success with Facebook Workplace, but it's just not sticking out here yet. It's interesting. It's because we're just too cold. So the other thing you get with Office 365, which you may not be aware of, is Azure. So Azure is an enterprise cloud service like AWS. If you know AWS, you know Azure for the most part. And I mention this because when you do your account synchronizations and all that stuff, it's all stored in Azure. Office 365 is backed by Azure. So you have an Azure AD right now. You may not know it, you may have never used it, but you have that. I pointed out because as we expand Office 365 for clients and integrate, we go to Azure because the authentication's there, the security's there, and Azure knows about Office 365 already. So I do a talk on integrating Salesforce and SharePoint Online, and we use Azure as that middleman to send the data back and forth, authentications, all that stuff. So be aware Azure is there. AWS is great. GCP is GCP, that's Google Cloud Platform. We're starting to get clients rolled up on that, but anyway, it's great. You can do everything you can do in Azure in AWS. I'm sure there are AWS diehards here who would argue with me. But just be aware that you have Azure there for the more advanced this is developer level stuff at this point. Like business users should not be in Azure. Please don't go in Azure. Cool. So that was a lot. And I'm aware of that. And so sometimes it gets very daunting. Like, how do I get started with all this? Where do we even start with the enterprise? Very common conversation we have with our clients. My biggest bit of advice: go do you. Right? Go at your pace. Go at what your IT department can handle. Go at what your enterprise is ready to adopt. The business is more ready than IT is. I can almost guarantee that. Your business wants a lot of this. And if you are business here, you can get this deck and just shove it in your IT's face. If you're IT, don't tell your business people about this talk, because it's just the nature of the beast, right? Those user scenarios that we had walked through at the beginning, right? That's all business driven. That's your business users doing all of this work. When they know you can streamline things get easier. Wait, I can just grab it on my phone now. I don't have to log in through 10 different VPNs and all this stuff, right? Like, this helps streamline the business. So it can be daunting. Keep the capability in mind. Don't just say, hey, Flow's now available. Flow. Talk, hey, we can now automate your daily tasks. We can now have a central approval location. We can now automate that report that you create and spend 4 hours a week building. We can do that in 30 seconds now, right? So you can do more meaningful work. But keep the capability in mind. Don't try to push the capability that Office 365 is bringing. You can enable services as needed. It's a pain in the butt, but you can disable like Flow and Power Apps at a license level. So everyone in your tenant who has an E3, you can say no one's allowed to touch Power Apps, and they'll get denied. The problem is if you wanted a pilot team of users to play with Power Apps, they need a different license type. So they'd have to go up to like an E5, and then that license type's allowed to hit Power Apps. There's no group level or user level authority into all these services, which is a little weird. It's it's per license level. Yeah, so all of your users with the same license would be affected by that change.
You can set up groups that have access to certain features on and off. So you can say, okay, everybody in this group has these features in RE3, and people who aren't in this group only have this subset.
Of the actual core of like Power Apps, being able to turn off Power Apps by group?
Well, like, everybody has OneDrive, but not everybody.
OneDrive might be an outlier, but all right, I will have to check that again. I haven't Googled that in a while. Awesome. So I may have lied there. It's video. If I lied, I'll just edit the video out, and you guys won't even know. User adoption is key. Change management is key. You might be able to email the whole company and say, we have this great product called To Do, manage your tasks. That might be enough change management. I would imagine if you rolled out a significant intranet, you did campaigns, you did training, you did all this change management to get your users to adopt your product. Definitely use change management to effectively roll out these services. And pair it with really good governance. I'm sure we could have another whole talk just on governance in Office 365. Pretty sure we've done that. Check our video feed. Consider a center of excellence a COE. I like COEs that are dispersed across the entire enterprise. Now, you have a COE, which is one port analyst that you just hired who knows how to spell Office 365 and is now responsible for servicing every business for Office 365. You can do that to that person. Don't. Just don't. Because they have the keys. You don't want to make them mad. But an effective center of excellence, you could have champions in every department, right? You can have people who already have full-time jobs who want the onus of saying, you know what, I will own Office 365 for HR. I'll be the point person for my department, right? You train that person. You tell that person what the capabilities are. As your IT team ramps up on their own training, you can include them and then let them know, yes, now we can do flows, right? Let them know, give them a quick 1 hour training, and now they understand, oh, I have a capability to automate things now, right? How can I roll this out in my department? The center of excellence approach, I've seen it done really poorly, where this is a center of excellence. It's a microsite with a lot of documentation and like 1 or 2 experts who never get pinged because their contact information is wrong, probably on purpose. So whether center of excellence, champions, what have you, as your users are playing with Office 365, they'll start loving it. It just kind of happens, especially when you let them do their thing. Let them play with Power BI. Just let them upload their own data, right? Trust in your own security. They can't get to anything they're not supposed to, right? They can't connect to like your HR database and get pay information out of it, right? Or if they can, shame on you, fix that. But let your users explore the platform. And with that, we're done. That was long. So if you pull out your phone and take a picture of that QR code is provided by Forms. So when you go to share on Forms, you can get a QR code. Really convenient for sharing stuff. If not, that little bit.ly URL I created, O365 is more. This will go to a simple form. I ask you 2 questions and your email address, and you'll get the PDF almost immediately. And I'm not going to spam you or anything like that. The user group will spam you. I won't spam you personally. It's a flow. Yep. And special thanks to my colleague Jared Matfis, who runs the Office 365 user group out of Connecticut, who blogged about doing this. And I'm like, that's a genius idea. So and if for whatever reason the picture's not working, it's bit.ly/O365 is more. Capital O. This deck also has a very weak resource section because there just wasn't much there. But the link to that periodic table is in here, and more details about the Power Platform is there as well. And of course, office365.com. And that'll do it. All right.
Thank you, David. So,
I'm going to CC myself on those emails, so the alerts.
So we have some quick upcoming community events that we're going to go over. There is the SharePoint Conference 2019, which is in Vegas.
Anybody going to that? We'll probably do. If you're interested in coming back and giving us a report, it'd be a great topic.
Yeah, that'd be very cool. There's also, we don't have it on here, but there's also in February, there's SP TechCon, Austin, Texas.
There's also the North American Collaboration Summit, and that's in March.
That's in March?
13th, I know that.
Okay.
That's all online, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's all, I'm gonna see, but the setting up ramps is very.
There's some worldwide Azure bootcamps coming. I think there's going to be 4 keys right here in this area.
Oh, yeah? Okay, so some Azure boot camps coming up soon. All right, take a look out for those.
One in this area and somewhere outside of MIT, one in Burlington, perhaps one more, but I'm not so sure.
Okay.
But it will be up. There's
So in the next couple of days, you all will receive an email summing up to date the video, my deck. If there's an event that we're missing, hit reply and give us a link or whatever, so we can share that with the greater community. We have 1,600 email people, 800 Twitter followers who like to just push information out. So please share.
Yep. Right. Got that. All right, other user groups. There's a Boston Azure, the Skype for Business group, Those poor guys. They just keep renaming that group.
Maybe we should take them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They actually have a lot of, I've actually attended that group a couple of times, and they are very heavy on the telco side. Lots of industry professionals on the telco side. So if anybody's interested in that stuff, really, really good people over there for that. But
Like I found a couple of online user groups, the flow and the power apps.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
I think about on pricing and all that.
Awesome. Yeah, if you can send me an email with that info, that'd be awesome. All right. There's also a SharePoint users group, Granite State. They are now starting to experiment, by the way. I don't see anybody here from that one. But they're now streaming. So they're now streaming online. And the Hartford Office 365, as was mentioned before, and also the Boston PowerShell user group. So coming up for us is something. Something?
We will definitely have a presenter by then.
Yes.
That location is confirmed, so we'll be in Burlington next
Yes,
month.
we'll definitely be in Burlington, and we will talk about something, and it will be Office 365 related. Awesome.
Yeah, good chance.
Yeah, yeah. I'm confident with that one.
Yeah.
All right. So I now turn it over to you guys. This is the part where you guys get to pick our brains as to anything that you've, made you want to throw your computer out the window this past week. That's Office 365 related. What's that? Or SharePoint related. I consider that's a subset. So,
So Mike,
Arthur, go ahead. Okay, Deb?
so last meeting, I got into trouble for asking about list column versus site column.
You started that religious war.
Started a whole religion, and
Yes.
I gave a talk today. I had somebody's face drop, and I went, "You use metadata, not folders." She just looked out. But anyways, list columns versus site columns. I created a list column last week, and magically it got indexed.
Modern?
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
I have a feeling. I just had this feeling for some time now that site columns are kind of going to go away.
The whole idea of
We're going to have list columns, which is easier to get the end user to use metadata. Just wanted to put that out there.
I don't like it. But okay. I don't like it solely because of the huge possibility of the same exact column with the same data set behind it being recreated multiple times in the same area. You
Great
know?
discussion for the beers afterwards.
Yes.
Great discussion.
There is something very interesting happened yesterday. People that work on the healthcare space, Microsoft at the highest level just had an agreement with Walgreens. And so Walgreens is going to be
Microsoft and
everything,
Walgreens.
with Microsoft and Microsoft doing a series of things. And I think there is some of the largest hospitals and perhaps health groups are joining in. So
Nice.
it's a massive development, and I think it's going to be open lots of
I wonder if that'll actually breathe life into the Health Vault, which is
work and
a Microsoft platform that's been floundering for years. Okay, that sounds interesting. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
I have a question. I
Okay.
have a small company, has Office 365 for data. They have a local server because they need to access a SQL database.
Okay.
Can that go somehow into Office 365 and I can get rid of the server?
Yes. When you go to Office 365, if you want to get rid of the server, you have to port it over to Azure.
That can integrate in?
Yeah, and now once it's in Azure, you can use whatever data connectors you want to connect to that Azure database. Use Flow to pull
Well-
it in, push data out.
Let me clarify. Is your client looking to migrate the data into the cloud, or they need the data to stay on-prem and they want to be able to access it?
No, they
From
can.
Office
They don't care where the data is.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't care where it is, so yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Then yeah, send it up
So
to the
there's a way
cloud.
to do that?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm sure there's fine caveats that are going to say no, this is impossible, but it should be very well possible.
Yeah.
There's always catches.
Yes, sir. Richard.
Looking for some obvious reason for why this isn't working. It worked perfectly in the test. I had a third-party app, the C2W2 React replacement from GitHub. Works
Okay.
Perfectly shows up. I put it into production tenant, no problem. But any modern site I go to, the page or whether that website, it doesn't show up in the list of available. Should be something really obvious. I haven't
It sounds like it could just be a trust issue. If you go, so if you go into the admin tenant, then you can browse into the Microsoft App Store from there. See if you can see it there.
Yeah.
If you can see it there, but you can't see it when you're in the SharePoint interface and trying to pull it up, then it's probably just a trust issue. In which case I would just remove it and try to re-add it.
Yeah. Well, no, it's from GitHub.
Oh, from GitHub.
Yeah.
So it's not on the store.
But it's in the App Store.
You did like-
SharePoint App Store. Yeah.
You build it, you do a yo build.
No.
Or you just download the package and put it in. Upload the app. Yeah,
Yes.
you put in the app.
You'd have to explore that some more.
Yeah. I don't know.
So there's a way to create site collection app catalog.
Yeah.
So you could, if you only wanted one site collection, you can upload it to the site collection app catalog, which is really cool.
Okay. Cool. Yes, sir.
I have two questions. First one is, I created a workflow that when you create an event, it would upload it into a SharePoint calendar. But the problem is that in the SharePoint calendar, the time shows up as Pacific time, and we're in the Eastern time zone. Even though the SharePoint is set for Eastern time zone, it always loads 3 hours later.
So my understanding is that best practice for dealing with time zones in workflows is to always convert everything to UTC and then to have the UTC convert back locally dependent on which site it's being used.
It doesn't matter.
It won't do that.
It won't do it.
If you Google that, there's a solution out there that works. Because I ran into the same problem and I called I can't remember the article. There was an article out there and the guy walked you through exactly how to get those UTC times, where to convert them and where to convert them back, and that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just look a little more.
Yeah, because I saw that you have to like convert it. That sounds right. You have to convert it twice.
Okay.
So you're converting it once on the import and then once on the display, I believe is how it is.
Okay.
And
File must be finished, yeah, everything else in the server.
Yep.
The other question is that I have a form that has to be filled out only by the person whom they're applying the form to. So if I fill it out, I can't have my admin fill out the form. My administrative assistant fill out the form.
oh, okay. You don't want it delegated.
Right. How
Uh-huh.
do I make a check? Because if I put in the person's name and I say, hey, this must equal created by or modified by, there's no way to check that before the form gets created. And is there a way to, let's say, delay the creation so that I can make a check after you, a power up? I'm using
Yeah.
power up to say submit form. I'd like to say delay 15 seconds or something like that, you know.
Yeah, there's a timer control in Power Apps you can use. It's a pain, but it's possible. You can slow stuff down in Power Apps if you really want to. Yeah, I'd be more interested in what the root cause problem is though than just slowing down the experience there. Right, like why we need to slow it down? Maybe this stuff, right?
Okay, because I tried created by, I tried to use the data card value, I tried to use author.
All right, yeah, let's connect after this. And we can
Okay.
talk about
maybe your question,
Deb.
but I'm creating my first Power App. I'm used to doing my info pack, like, having my sections hide until my ID number is created. So basically, I can create a form that the end user puts this in, once it's entered into my list. When I open it up, now my, wherever people need to work on the form now see their fields that they've got to fill in. Can't figure out how to do that in Power Apps.
Stop thinking like that.
I know, those are my first Power Apps, so, you know.
Yeah, I
can't help
can
myself.
tell you how to do it. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'll buy you a deal.
Excellent. It's gonna be for free. I'll take it. 1, 2.
All right, David's gonna need an Uber home. All right. Oh, yeah, nice. All right, anybody else?
Hey, David, this is Naveen.
Yes, go ahead, Naveed.
Hey, so what do you think about OneNote, actually? I thought it's a good tool for project
I like
management.
Note.
Hello?
Hello?
Are you able to hear me? Or
Yes.
now, I was just wondering, what are your thoughts about OneNote as an app for Office 365?
What are my thoughts about OneNote as an app for Office 365? I absolutely love OneNote. I think it's awesome. I've been accused of overusing OneNote because I use it for absolutely everything. Are there any specific questions that you have?
No, I was just wondering, you didn't mention it, so I was just wondering what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm a heavy user of templates in OneNote, so I use it for tracking time. I use it actually for sessions like this. I have a button that I can click and it opens up a template for when I'm sitting in on a presentation like this that has pre-populated fields. And, you know, a lot of the tags, you can do a lot of tagging in it. And then one of my favorite features that I think is very unknown is that when you do a lot of tags, you can also create a OneNote page that actually searches all of your notebooks looking for things that match a certain tag type and automatically pull them into a single list.
2019 OneNote, because it's not, I can't find it. I've just been using it a few weeks, but I don't, that's gone away.
Oh, has it? Okay. I don't know. We happen to have some Microsoft Office product guys here.
So OneNote used to have this wonderful feature when you can tag stuff right next to where the tags were. You could say, find my tags. And you can say which tags, whether you want to do that page, that notebook, all of your notebooks.
Yeah.
I don't see that on maybe 2019, the online. Online version doesn't have it. My brand new spanking new laptop with my brand new doesn't have it on.
I think we are going to be working on OneNote, but I think it's a good feature that, I think when you're talking about brand new, you're talking about the thing that's installed on Windows 10. I know that we're working on producing the feature that we're going to be making.
The big one.
Yeah.
You can still install that. That one I go to Office.
User voice can't.
Oh, you can install it, but you can install it manually by going to office.com where you install the normal apps. There should be a second one to install separately.
It was actually, it was installed via Office 365.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
But by the way, so OneNote, I saw a really great thing with SharePoint Saturday, a couple things. When you use OneNote to record audio and you start to type notes, it puts a time date.
Yes.
Whatever, so you can go back in the audio and see where you did your notes.
Yes.
And the other cool thing, if you're using your Edge browser, up on the top right-hand corner, there's this little squiggly thing that looks like a pen sticking on it. You click on that, your browser turns purple, and now you can draw on the website and you can save it to OneNote.
Yep. Just as a warning, if you use that recording feature a lot, it will tend to bloat your OneNotes, and the recording actually gets embedded into that notebook. It synchronizes up, and then it'll synchronize back down to every device that has that notebook connected. So be very sparing when using that. I have stopped doing that because of that. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. I think that's about it. We could go on forever and probably will, but we're going to do it at drinks later on.
I just have one about the hiring.
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah, my name is Glenn James. My company is Cloudflare. And
Okay.
we provide a third-party provider for compliance and records management. If I'm looking for an ECM, SharePoint ECM consultant to join as part of my team for product implementations.
Okay. And where are you guys out of?
It's out of the Boston area, but we're generally neutral office.
Okay.
Do you have a business card by any chance?
I do have business cards with me. Yeah. So just come by afterwards and.
Awesome. All right. So SharePoint ECM. Yes, sir.
I need 2 or 3 IT PMs with Office 365 implementation experience.
Okay.
And also probably 2 Office 365 generals.
All right.
Retired.
And for the record, what's the name of your company and where are you out of?
It's Center Consulting. So.
Okay.
And I have cards, like I said, currently at your job, and you want more money.
Nice. Awesome. Anybody else hiring or looking for work?
Yeah, I'm not looking for work. Slalom Consulting is looking to hire a SharePoint architect out of the Boston office. I can sing Slalom's praises for years. Looking for someone with dev experience, more architecture experience around Office 365 and all that stuff.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Without any further ado, the raffle. So we can win cool stuff. All right. Does everybody have a raffle ticket?